Good morning, Facebook. We are back for another Saturday installment of Electrify All the Things. Last week we discovered all the boring definitions and the reasons of what electrification is and why we are even considering it. So what we're going to do is actually put the metal to the road, our money where our mouth is, and we're going to actually talk about what is it in a real life instance. How does this even apply to you? Why is it important? Why should you care? Because it could be a really boring topic and you're going to look at this video and say, I don't want to listen to anything this guy has to say because he's super boring. Well, we're going to get away from the boring and start going into something that's kind of interesting. So, last week I said we were going to set up a test environment for you. And we have our garage. This is our real life garage, or real house. And it's just like your house. It's got plants. There's a washer and dryer out here. You have a washer and dryer in your house. We got a fish tank. A lot of people have fish tanks. We also have areas where we have insulation missing and air leaks. Just like your house. Now, why do I care about this? Because if I'm going to show you something relevant, it has to actually be similar to your house. If I have some perfect lab environment, you're not going to care. It's not going to be relevant to you. So this is just like most of our customers' houses. Why do I care about saying that we have house plants or a clothes washer in the garage? Because those have temperature and humidity requirements. Washers put, VOCs and stuff in the air for detergents, and we also have air leaks. So these are inefficiencies in our home that need to be applied. So a little bit of background on this house. The garage itself has 10-foot ceilings, and we've got about R20 insulation in the attic and R19 in the walls. The garage door is also insulated, so we have somewhat of a controlled environment. Now, why do you care? Why does Frank care to tell you what kind of insulation is in our house? Because this is actually very equivalent to what most of your houses have. Now, you get a brand spanking new house that's air sealed and has like R10,000 insulation where it's this deep in the attic. That's a different application than what we actually have, and that's a different application than what the majority of our customer base has. And I know because I've been in your attic. So we have heating set points here that actually align with what most people have in their home. Most people keep their house between 65 and 72, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've got different settings here for those. So what we actually went through and did was a load calculation on the garage. Most HVAC guys are going to tell you, you got to do a heating load, you got to do a heating loss. That's really important, and they're going to tell you, you need a 2-ton air conditioner, or you need a 60,000 BTU furnace. It's important that you guys understand that most of that load calculation is at, for a furnace, 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside air temperature, and the air conditioner is at, I believe they're still using 95 degrees for a design point here in Dayton, Ohio. Anywhere between these in your load wanes and waxes. So we're looking just at heating load, since this is what we're talking about with electrification. So when it's about 60 to 65 degrees out, you really don't have much of a heating load in your house. And of course, since it is our house, we have dogs, so you'll hear them bark in the background. So you will have that. So as our outdoor air temperature drops, the amount of heat that we need to maintain a temperature will increase. This is very important with heat pumps, as we'll talk about next week, because heat pumps vary their heat output based on the actual outside air temperature, because as it gets colder, it's harder for them to draw moisture or heat in. So here's our test week. We set up that we had a heat pump with electric backup heat in this garage from November 30th to the morning of Saturday, December 6th, and then through December 7th through the 13th, we had this gas furnace here installed. So why did I pick these 2 weeks? They're actually very, very similar in high and low temperatures. The weather was the same those past 2 weeks, or basically the same. So what we have is a consistent comparison so that I can give you a real-life comparison of how the two systems function as well as what it cost us. So you can see here, with these days where our BTUs were the most, the blue chart here shows our low temperatures. So these are mostly at night. And actually at night is really closer to 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's when your heating load is typically the most. So you can see when we had these 5 and 8 degree days, we really needed a lot of heat. Now, during the daytime, we're running, 15 to 17,000 BTUs. So it's about half the heating load during the day. And there we go. Computer's running a little slow. Now, here's a comparison of where our temperatures actually lie in comparison with how much heat we actually need and the outdoor air temperature. Most of the time, if it's kind of hard to see the chart here, but this orange or peach color is the quantity of days that met our daily highs. So most of our temperatures were within the, about 20 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really consistent with the Dayton, Ohio area. Our winters, although we have days that get down towards 0, and although we have days like on Christmas where it was almost 70 degrees out, which is kind of interesting for the Dayton area, most of our temperatures are right around freezing for the majority of winter. So a lot of this goes into understanding whether a heat pump is going to actually be right for you. So as our summary says here, and again, if Kathy can zoom in, maybe she can, maybe she can't. I don't know Facebook Live, and that's part of the fun of this. We had our 2 weeks, as I said, with very consistent temperatures. Week 1 was the heat pump with backup electric heating, and week 2 was just straight gas furnace. Now, I am going to tell you, Saturday, December 6th should be excluded from our data analysis, because that's the day I actually removed the heat pump, an air handler, and put the furnace in. So that was a little bit of a different dynamic. I had to start it up and adjust it. So the usage for that, we're going to throw out. So what are we going to talk about next? What we're going to talk about is the heating equipment that we actually use, because I need to show you that this is the type of equipment that's actually going to be in some of your houses. So we're going to just slowly dive into a lot of this. But remember, if we're going to actually have a concise discussion about whether a heat pump is right for you or not, if electrification is right for you or not, I have to give you actual relatable data. Laboratory tests mean diddly squat. If a manufacturer says, oh yes, electrify, that doesn't mean anything to you. What means something to you is if I can say, hey, this actually makes sense for you, or no, it doesn't. So, again, why are we doing this? I want you to have the real info so that you can make smart decisions for your home. So, tune in to Facebook. Make sure that I guess you can like or subscribe or whatever. Next week we'll try to post the event early again so that if you guys are actually interested in this, Facebook will remind you that we're going to get on the internet and actually talk about this. So be sure to tune in next week about 9 o'clock. And if you have questions or comments, please let us know. All right, thanks for tuning in. Have a great Saturday.